Welcome back to another edition of Ruck'n Maul. It's Greg Growden alongside Sam Bruce. Greg, we're going to kick it off this week with the Brumbies. They're really struggling.
They are. Injuries. The plight of losing their big players is really knocking the Brumbies around now to the situation where they could lose top dog status in the Australian Conference. Last week we saw, without Matt Tamur, Kurandrani, Nick White, they were a completely different team and lost at home, which is very rare for them. And their schedule is going to be tough, and we're not really certain how long these players are going to be back. So this may give the chance to Waratahs to peek-a-boo above them.
What do you think went on at training last week at Waratah HQ after that loss to the Stormers? I imagine it would have been a particularly brutal week on the training paddock.
Well, my mail is from my snouts at Waratah land that Michael Checker was ballistic and absolutely hammered the players all week, and that showed in the weekend's game. You had guys who'd hardly be siding, wanting to do everything. Like Wycliffe Parlev did more in that 50 minutes than he's done in about the last 5 years. And it obviously worked, because what we saw in Wellington was a revitalisation of the Waratahs. They were back to what they were last year. Their defence was outstanding. Their handling really improved, and their combinations were again on song. And also Bernard Foley had a great game. And now, if they can continue doing that, because the problem is they've only done this on occasions this year. They've got to keep this going. But if they can keep doing that, I think they'll really push way past the Brumbies and guarantee a final spot.
Were you interested to see how well Bernard Foley played on the back of the whole contract situation last week, where it came out and he was announced as the first player to get one of these flexible ARU deals?
It must have enthused him, because that was his best game for the year. He really took control of that game against Bowden Barrett. So he did it against a quality opponent, which really improves his stocks of being the test number 10. You've got to do it against the guns, and he did, because probably Barrett will be with Growden being injured, he'll probably be the New Zealand number 10 in the Bledisloe Cup games later this year. And he was composed, Foley, he kicked well, but again, you just got to keep doing it.
Sanzar remain under pressure. We're still yet to see this rumoured broadcast deal for one. And then on Sunday this week, we have Western Force coach Michael Foley come out and slam the draw, which has been a bit of a hot topic this season.
Yeah, we've been complaining about it for quite a while. I remember early in the year we were talking about this weird situation where the Sharks were at home for about 10 or 11 games and don't really go away till the next week or two. And now Michael Foley's complained about, saying that his draw is unbelievable, that they've been away all the time now. They've got to go to a 5 or 6 day turnaround. They've now got to go to New Zealand. And I just find the whole setup of how they do this very confounding. I know yet Sands up, people complain saying, it's difficult to do and we've got to do it months ahead. But I think they don't adapt enough. And you look at the draw and it's all over the joint. It's another thing Sands are really got to look at, because I remember not that many years ago there was 3 or 4 guys used to work on it, and the draw was good. Not as if the draw has been bad all the time. It's suddenly got a bit iffy, and so, like many other things, including judiciary hearings and coaches visiting referees at half time, there's another thing that Sands are really got to look at.
It's not easy though, of course, with Perth being probably the most isolated city on the planet.
It is the most isolated city on the planet. When you go there, you discover why, particularly if you say anything derogatory about the Force. Yeah, the Force are in a difficult situation, but maybe that's why we were talking about last week, about maybe it might be a time for the Force to join the South African Conference. That will solve a few of Michael Foley's concerns.
Michael Foley complaining in the West, while the ARU, they released their annual report just a few days ago, a $6.3 million loss, with about half of that propping up the Melbourne Rebels.
Now, you read the ARU annual report and it sounds like everything's fantastic, but underneath there are a few cracks, and that's a major problem, having a $6 million loss. And now people are looking very closely at the future of the Melbourne Rebels. They've now bled more than $8 million over the last 2 years. Can this continue? No, it can't. I know there's reports the last day or two that the Rebels think that they will get private ownership again, hope to have something in place by the end of the year. Mate, I think the end of the year is too late. You've got to get something organised now. And now really have to look at whether the Rebels is relocated. There was a story we wrote about in Ruck'n quite a number of months ago where Stadium Australia out at Homebush were looking at possibly having them playing games here. Now the problem is we've got a situation, we've got a World Cup year where there's not that many inbound tests, so the amount of money coming to the ARU this year will not be extravagant. I know we're all waiting for this Sanzar broadcasting deal, which is supposed to solve all the problems, but that deal was supposed to be announced about 6 months ago. So there's a lot of things up in the air at the moment, and the concern is if we don't hear about this or know what's exactly in the Sanso broadcasting deal, the ARU could be facing another big profit loss this year.
What about the idea of asking the public for advice on how to run the game?
Well, I hate to be the person on the phone. If they're doing it by phone, I hate to be the person in the ARU answering the phone because they're going to get absolutely hammered. Because, okay, smart idea saying we want the punters to tell us what they think should be improved. But if they're thinking they're going to get roses and positive things, good luck, because there's a lot of anger out there, particularly over the junior levies, the club levies, and also the concerns at grassroots level that the ARU have forgotten about them. And also, if they do ask for this advice, let's hope they do something about it and not do this as a bit of the spin which is going on at the moment.
Another big week in rugby, as always, another big week in Ruck'n Maul.